Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media. From Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kayla Moeller. How's everybody feeling? It's been pretty rainy here in LA. I personally was super glad that I held off on getting a car wash. I have to park under this tree on my street, and it leaves my car covered in a whole bunch of pollen. So I'm glad that I let nature take its course instead of spending the $15 on a car wash. Okay, but anyways, there's been some pretty interesting stuff happening lately on the socials. The coronavirus has just been wreaking absolute havoc around the world. And all you Bachelor Nation fans out there sure got a surprise ending in that finale, huh? And let's see, Harvey Weinstein finally got his fate sealed. All right, so let's get this going. Is coronavirus season the new festival season? Festival season is shutting down as quickly as it arrived with the spread of this new virus. If you have tickets to any upcoming festivals or concerts, then you're most likely gonna be getting a refund or having to replan your trip for a later date this year or maybe even next year. So far, some of the festivals and gigs and whatnot that have been postponed or canceled are Ultra Music Festival in Miami, South by Southwest in Austin, BTS, the K-pop group in Seoul, Green Day's tour, which was a world tour, Mariah Carey in Hawaii, that got pushed back, Stagecoach, and even Coachella. Coachella is pushed back to October now, and the official Coachella organizers put out a statement. And to summarize, they said, quote, "While this decision comes at a time of universal uncertainty, we take the safety and health of our guests, staff, and community very seriously. We urge everyone to follow the guidelines and protocols put forth by public health officials," end quote. And it's funny because this announcement was pretty recent. And I saw this Twitter meme from @JamesHamblin saying, "Italy has banned weddings and funerals for 16 million people. Japan has closed schools for a month. France and Iraq have banned all public gatherings. The UN has canceled all physical meetings to address climate change. Americans are uncertain what to do about Coachella." And that makes you think. The Houston Livestock Show and rodeo in Texas has also been called off. And people are pretty bummed about this one because of all the extra little expenses they had for it, you know, like carnival tickets for rides and stuff like that have to be purchased separately. And if you bought a ticket to the actual event through StubHub, then you're in luck because StubHub has this policy that if an event gets canceled, then they have to offer you a full refund. However, if you bought a ticket through the actual rodeo, then there really hasn't been word on how to get a refund or if you can even get one, considering everything was so last minute. I mean, they started the rodeo, and then when people started showing up, they went, oh no, this is probably not a good idea. and decided that they were going to make people leave. The rodeo itself, it's a 24-day event, and it drew over 2.5 million visitors last year and generated about $391 million for Houston's economy. And then earlier I mentioned South by Southwest, also known as SXSW, of Austin, Texas, was also canceled. And that brought in about $356 million in 2019. So it seems like the Texas economy is really taking a big hit from all this. I mean, as well as everyone else, if you think about it. I mean, think about Italy and just tourism around the world. Many countries, they rely on tourism to generate and boost their economy and feed their people. So it'll be interesting to see how all this plays out once everything settles down. Well, hopefully everything settles down. Like my uncle had some big business conference in Italy that he's known about for over a year. And a year ago, he tried booking a hotel room for this conference and was struggling to find somewhere to stay a year out because it was such a huge event. And now it's just canceled. So think about all the refunds that the hotels are going to have to give to people and how many people are going to be out of a job and all that. And think about the festival staff who are now out of a job and who have been working tirelessly for a year to put on some monstrous event like South by Southwest just for nothing. It's just gone, canceled, done, that's it. It's really unfortunate. And hopefully we all survive this because I want to see what my grandkids are going to learn about in their textbooks because I specifically remember learning about the bubonic plague, but I mean, I know that's totally different, but it'll be interesting to see what they have to say about it in a couple decades. Okay, so now, besides Coachella and all the other fun stuff getting canceled, a lot of colleges and universities are also calling it quits, or at least attempting to hold online seminars in place of classes. And something funny that I read on Twitter, or at least I thought it was funny, was that University of Dayton in Ohio announced the cancellation of classes because of coronavirus fears, and then just within hours, hundreds and hundreds of students decided it would be a great idea to all gather up and throw some huge rager on Lowe's Street on their campus. And people described it as turning into something like a war zone. And then the riot police were eventually called and just started pepper spraying all the students. I know how that goes. Just kidding. Maybe not. State Street, baby. Go Cats. But think of the irony. UD suspended all their classes to keep students away from each other, and then they all decided to take to the streets like some sort of unspoken bond of unity. But, I mean, whatever. That's college kids for you. And speaking of college kids, I graduated from University of Kentucky, hence the Go Cats, and I'm still a part of this Facebook group where a bunch of girls post clothes to trade with each other or sell or give PSAs or lost and founds or whatever. It's just a giant group full of college-aged women who all go to UK. And I saw someone post in it the other day over concerns about spring break trips. And they said something like, hey girls, my parents are trying to forbid me on going on my spring break trip, but I still really want to go. I'm not quite sure what to do. I know most of you have spring break plans too, blah, blah, blah. What's everybody doing? Are you guys canceling your trips? And to my surprise, everybody in the comments were like, no, girl, don't cancel. Just, wash your hands, do what's right. We're all still going. And then someone even said, who cares? It's already here in Lexington, where UK is. And so if you don't go on your trip, somebody else is. And then they're going to come back and give it to you. So you might as well still have fun while you can. And I guess that's true. I mean, I don't know how smart that is, but it's true. And my mom, she's a flight attendant. And she's still working as of now. I mean, it's her job. She can't just not go to work. They'll probably start canceling everything pretty soon, but for now, she's working a lot of London trips. And I was on the phone with her earlier, and she was saying how the flights aren't even reaching half capacity. And these are usually the most full flights that she works. And she said that the walk from her gate through customs and, out of the airport is eerily quiet. And there's usually a bunch of people hustling and bustling, getting in everybody's way and rushing around. And she said that she's never quite seen anything like this. She says that it's just empty, and it took her 5 minutes to get out of the airport, and it usually takes her over 20. I mean, I guess that's not that big of a difference, but kind of is in an airport. I mean, she just said that she just walked right through. I'm kind of worried about her, though, because, you know, you don't know where any of these people on her flights are coming from, or where they've been, or who they've been in contact with. It just takes one person, and then that's it. You know, then everybody on the plane is possibly infected, and then that's it. You're just donezo. But there are plenty of ways to protect yourself. So when we come back after the break, I will be talking about some tips and tricks to stay healthy, prevent you from getting it, all that good stuff. And then I will also be giving you a heads up on how to spot fake coronavirus info that's been circulating the web, also known as fake news. So stay tuned.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
All right, welcome back. So we were just talking about coronavirus and cancellations, and we were just getting into the flight situations and airports and stuff like that. So I was saying how my mom is a flight attendant, and I'm kind of worried about who she's coming into contact with on her flights and in the airport, and even just on her layovers. Because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like most humans are pretty selfish by nature, and even if they know they've been exposed to the virus or even are feeling symptoms, I feel like a lot of people, a scary amount of people at least, would still go out in public. Like that one guy in Missouri, his daughter tested positive for coronavirus, and the whole family, they were all supposed to self-quarantine. But instead, he completely disregarded that and took his other daughter to a whole school function, possibly infecting everyone at that event. I don't get it. I don't understand people. I mean, just stay at home. You're hurting other humans. Why would you even want to do that? And like my mom is having to come into contact with all these crazy people, and then she could come home and give it to my young brothers or my grandparents or who have you. It's scary. And she can't just not go to work. As long as planes are going, they need flight attendants and pilots and people to run it. But Trump is starting to ban any international travel coming into the U.S., so it'll be interesting to see what happens to my mom. Like, I don't know if she's going to get furloughed or her routes are going to change or what's going to happen. The virus can also live on paper money, apparently, which I find pretty unusual because it's porous. Paper is porous. So I would have just assumed that it can only live on a hard surface, but I guess not. So be careful after touching any cash, or maybe just stick to your debit or credit cards for now. But at the same time, the virus can also apparently live in the freaking air for a couple of hours. It just can hang out in the air particles, which seems totally crazy, but I guess that's why it's so dangerous. And it can live on some surfaces like plastic and metal for an upwards of 3 days. That is so long. Like, think about somebody who's exposed touching a surface and then it's still being there 3 days later. And then think about all of the traffic, all of the people who are coming through and maybe touching that same spot that person touched if nobody's wiped it down, if nobody's cleaned it. And think about all of the people it can spread to over a course of 3 days. That is so long. And as I'm sure you've all heard, you're supposed to really, really give your hands a good scrub for a solid 20 seconds or sing happy birthday twice to really make sure you're clean. But if you're getting tired of singing happy birthday 100 times, like I am, then you're in luck, because a teen from the United Kingdom, he actually created a website called washyourlyrics.com, washyourlyrics.com, where you can put in your favorite song and the artist, and then it will generate a 20-second hand washing technique using the lyrics from that song. So it creates a little poster where it shows you what step of hand washing you should be at a certain lyric. It's pretty cool, so check it out. I put in some songs to kind of see if it knew them all, and it did. I was pleasantly surprised. And, you know, you really should definitely be cleaning more than just your hands. Think about how disgusting your phone is. Every time I come back home from being in public, I go straight to the Lysol wipes and I wipe down my phone front to back, inside and out. And then I wash my hands really good, because there's no point in washing your hands and then going to touch your dirty phone that's been out and about all day. So definitely wipe down your phone when you get home too. Because think about it, if you just set your phone down on a table while you're eating lunch or doing whatever, it can totally pick all that stuff up, because, again, think about how long the virus can live. And I've also been wiping down my steering wheel in my car, which I'm really glad I did, because it was gross. The wipe was all gross after, so I actually ended up using a few, and now I'm doing it on a regular basis, and I'm very glad. And don't just stop at the steering wheel. Wipe down the handles and the stick and the gears and, you know, the radio buttons, everything. And this is a good one. You got to make sure to wash your hands or sanitize your hands after riding in a Lyft or an Uber, because, I mean, you never know who is in it and touching the handle and all that stuff, the seatbelt, before you. And, I mean, this virus, it's already making life as we know it a lot more difficult. And leave it to the trolls on the internet to make it even worse. There's plenty of fake news circulating about the virus. So a few ways to make sure you don't fall for it are to definitely not click on a link that's on some random Facebook post going around. Sometimes it's just harmless trolls who say something like, people in blank town are to stay in homes for the next 2 weeks. Click link for more info. And then you click on the link and it takes you to some picture of that gorilla Harambe. And they're just trying to be funny. But you also have to be super careful, because sometimes these false links can be harmful, and it's put up by some hackers who can steal your information when you click on that link. So if it's not a post from a real credible news site or network, then just don't click it. And if you're still curious and you want to see for yourself if the information is true or not, then just, do your own little Google search. Just type in what the post is claiming, and if a few reputable articles come up from real organizations that you recognize, then okay, it might be true. But if weird stuff comes up that you're not really familiar with, then you can just assume it was false, so don't click it. I've even seen some posts claiming to be the government, saying that, the following factories and work centers are closing down as of today. Click this link to see if your place of employment is on the list. And I don't click the link, obviously, because I know better. And if my work was shutting down, my work would tell me, So just kind of be diligent and smart about that. I'm just trying to warn other people here who may fall for stuff like that for whatever reason. And then also, if you have a Twitter account, then go ahead and, follow the CDC and accounts with a check mark to make sure you're getting info from credible sources. I'd say that's a pretty safe way to make sure you're not being fooled. But there is hope. It's not just like everyone is sitting back, letting this run its course. There are people out there trying to put a stop to it and trying to create vaccines and whatnot. Thank God for scientists and caring, smart people. So there is an area lab in Atlanta working hard on the vaccine, and their goal is to hopefully come up with a vaccine that will be as widely available to the public as the flu shot is. But the issue is stuff like that can take, a few years. But in addition to that, the University of Tennessee is using a supercomputer to come up with an actual cure to stop it, like right now, from spreading. So these researchers at UT, they've partnered with the Oak Ridge National Laboratory to work on this possible cure with what they call the world's most powerful computer. It's called Summit. And it apparently can do the work of 100,000 laptops at the same time. And it's constantly coming up with calculations, and then it narrows it down until it comes up with a few of the best samples to fight the virus. And then they get these samples, try them out, test them, and then if that doesn't work, they go back and try again. So hopefully they'll find the right one pretty soon. But in the meantime, just, use some common sense, people. Limit travel, be clean. Don't be selfish, just use your head. If you're not feeling good, then stay home. And make sure, I can't say this enough, just make sure that you're washing your hands. And I know hand sanitizer is not really easy to come by, but if you see some, just grab it, because if you don't have access to a bathroom to really wash your hands at all times, it's good to just keep some wipes or sanitizer on you, just if you're in a pinch. We are coming up on a short break, but don't go anywhere, because next we're going to gossip about The Bachelor. I got some pretty juicy stuff. I think it's hilarious that The Bachelor's mom is being so petty and just absolutely coming after the girl that he apparently loves now. It's hilarious to me. So we'll talk about that next. Stand by.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Talking about coronavirus, but who isn't? It's pretty much everywhere. It's all anyone is talking about on the streets or anywhere you go. Phone calls, walking by people, coronavirus, oh my gosh, that's canceled. It's just crazy. So to recap, if you've got tickets to something, it's probably going to be canceled. Festival season, canceled. 2020, pretty much canceled. Keep your hands washed and your phone clean. Don't fall for fake links circulating on Facebook. Be diligent. Just use some common sense. And there are people out there trying to stop this. So let's put out some good juju for them and hope they come up with something quick. All right. Now, let's move into something a bit lighter, like some good old-fashioned TV reality show gossip. So this season of The Bachelor just came to an end. The season finale's just premiered. And, I'm going to be honest, I haven't really watched much of the season. I'm not a huge Bachelor gal, but I've read up on anything and everything, so pretty up to date. I've watched clips and videos here and there, so I think I have a good idea of what went down. So mostly everyone, fan-wise, seems to be Team Madison. I'm Team Madison. I watched the first few episodes, I think maybe 2.5 episodes, and Madison, she was my favorite girl back then. So it's good to see that she made it to the end. She's a sweetheart. So Peter, the Bachelor, that's his name, if you didn't know, was torn between two girls at the end, Madison and Hannah Ann. And Peter's mom, Barb, her name is Barb, she had a clear favorite and was not afraid to voice that. Hint, it is not Madison. She even rolled her eyes at one point while Madison was talking, like when she was talking about her struggles, during the finale, they all do that. And a grown adult woman was rolling her eyes at a 23-year-old recounting her hardships that she went through, in front of the eyes of America. And Barb was crying to Peter, saying things like, oh, bring her home to us, and, put on the theatrics, being extremely dramatic, trying to sway him toward her favorite, Hannah Ann. And, I'm sure Hannah Ann is a perfectly lovely girl, but for some reason, I'm just Team Madison. And it seemed like Peter was Team Madison too. But then Madison took it upon herself to walk away for several different reasons. And, Peter still couldn't even decide then after Madison had left. So it was just down to Madison and Hannah Ann. So by default, then Hannah Ann was left. And he didn't even have the decency to let Hannah Ann know that Madison had walked away and she was gone. Instead, he just went ahead and proposed to Hannah Ann and made her think that he wholeheartedly just chose her and that was it, which I think is extremely unfair. This is how the proposal went. Peter said, quote, I have to follow my heart. So Madison, she actually left 2 days ago. Hannah Ann, your beautiful spirit is honestly unlike anything I've ever seen before. You're thoughtful, caring, selfless, passionate, and above all else, you're one of a kind, and my heart chooses you forever. I love you, Hannah Ann, and the love you've shown me is all I've ever wanted, and I never want to let you go. Hannah Ann, will you marry me? End quote. And listen to this. I got a kick out of this. So fans on Twitter absolutely went in on Peter, saying that he totally accidentally called Hannah Ann Madison. He called her the wrong name in the beginning of the proposal and then tried to cover it up by saying, oh, she left 2 days ago. Because he went, I had to follow my heart. So Madison, she left 2 days ago. Hannah Ann, so I totally see what they're saying. And I agree with that, because why would you bring that, if you haven't brought it up this far, why would you bring up the fact that she left during your proposal? And then also, why would you even mention another girl's name when you're proposing to somebody else? So I totally think that he caught himself in a panic and then had to quickly slip in that she left 2 days ago. And to top all of that off, Peter ended the engagement a few weeks later, saying he doesn't actually know where his heart is and that it might still be with Madison, after he gave her that big speech about, I'll love you forever, blah, blah, blah. And poor Hannah Ann. I mean, that was probably devastating for her. She had real feelings, like she loves him. And he definitely just shouldn't have chosen anyone then. He should have just walked away before the proposal if he still wasn't sure. Because he put Hannah through a false engagement. And she put it best. She said that it was really selfish of him to have taken away her first engagement. And if you think about it, that is sad, because in her mind, that was like real, and that was her moment, that was her engagement. And whereas it seemed like Peter was just doing it because the show was coming to an end and Hannah Ann was the girl left and he had to propose to somebody, so he just proposed to her. But I mean, there's not, or I mean, at least I don't think there's a rule that you have to, absolutely have to propose at the end. I mean, I don't know, but I think that she would have rather him just walked away instead of giving her all this false hope. And not to mention, Peter still had feelings for Hannah Brown from last season, which put another twist on things. When he kept bringing Hannah Brown onto the show, that was so odd. And then as to why she kept agreeing to come on the show, that's weird to me too. Like, girl, you already had your time. Go on, get. Like, we already saw you for a whole entire season. We don't need you back. Let Peter have his time. Let all those girls have their shot. I thought that was pretty weird. But anyways, another thing that fans were talking about was some sort of supposed secret message on Madison's hand, that they spotted when it got close to her face, or the camera did, right before she went to go meet Peter's family. And people thought that it was just a tattoo that they had previously missed, or maybe she got a last minute tattoo while she was on the show or something. I don't know. But then they realized that it was like a scribble that she wrote on her own hand. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, is she sending viewers a subliminal message? Like, what, does she need help? Oh my gosh. People were being dramatic, freaking out. And then people realized it was something that she wrote on her hand, and it was some sort of proverb or Bible verse. I mean, nobody could make out exactly what it said, but it was definitely a Bible verse. And, Madison has been pretty clear about her faith and how important it is to her, and how she's also saving herself for marriage, which made things really uncomfortable for her during Fantasy Suite Week when Peter slept with the other girls. And she obviously didn't sleep with them, and then she told him, if you were to do that, that would make me feel uncomfortable. And then he went ahead and did it anyways. But I mean, that's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really going to penalize him for that, but I just, hurt Madison. And then Peter's mom also mentioned that she thinks Madison might be too religious for Peter. But then she turned around and told Peter that she spoke to God and that God said to choose Hannah Ann. So that's a bit hypocritical of Barb, if you ask me. She seems to be meddling too much. And I mean, Peter can kind of make his own decisions, I mean, that's kind of the point of the show, but whatever. And finally, since Peter was now single, he broke off the engagement. Chris Harrison, the host, took it upon himself to pay Madison a visit after everything settled down. And he went there and told her that Peter was now single. And he asked her, do you regret leaving? And she said, yeah, I do. I still love him. I wish things were different. All that stuff, blah, blah, blah. And he said, would you be willing to give him a second chance? And she said, yes. So she flew out to go meet him. And in the end, I guess they're dating again, but they're taking things slow, and then we'll see what happens from there. Here we are with another break coming up. We'll be right back. Next, I'm going to talk about Harvey Weinstein and his much-deserved consequences. I'm also going to compare something that a lot of these kind of guys' lawyers have done to gain their client sympathy or possibly sway a jury. We'll see. We'll be right back.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Again, Kayla here. So I just got finished talking about all the twists and turns we saw in the Bachelor finale. Pretty crazy stuff there. Peter proposed to Hannah Ann and then quickly changed his mind, and now all of a sudden he's dating Madison, who had initially chosen to remove herself from the show. They're taking things slow. They're not engaged. They're just regular dating for now. But Barb, Peter's mother, really isn't too fond of Madison. So you can't help but think about the awkwardness that might happen at their family dinners or whatever. I mean, imagine how Madison feels sitting there knowing that her boyfriend's mom borderline hates her for not really a good, valid reason, other than she just wasn't who she wanted Peter to pick. It's just, the whole thing is kind of weird. And a previous contestant on Peter's season, her name is Kelly Flanagan. She was also really well liked by Peter's mom, and she even went as far, Barb, she commented on Kelly's Instagram post after the season, saying like, "Oh, we need to go shopping soon," with like a heart emoji. That is so weird. Like, just stay out of it, Barb. She seems like she's getting way too involved, and Peter's a big boy. He can make his own decisions, and she should be supportive of him as long as, I mean, he's not hurting anyone. He's just trying to figure himself out. And it's not, she's acting like it's the Barb show, and it's not. So she just, in my opinion, she needs to back up a little bit. Okay, moving on. So, Hollywood. It definitely has its ups and downs, but it also has its secrets, and one of those secrets was brought to light by Harvey Weinstein's accusers, the brave women that stepped forward that resulted in the very powerful Me Too movement, #MeToo. So Weinstein's sentencing just came out, and he was sentenced to 23 years for several horrible sex crimes. And being 67 years old, he could definitely die in prison. This whole thing started in October of 2017. It's just now coming to wraps. The women involved have had a really hard couple of years. And, I hope this brings them a bit of peace and a sense of justice. Something that I noticed or probably not just me, a bunch of people, something that people, me, myself included, noticed during the trial was that Weinstein came out in a walker at one point all of a sudden, after an apparent back surgery. And I thought, how convenient. Make him look weak and decrepit so the jury might think, what? How could this weak old man with a walker ever have sexually assaulted anyone? He can barely walk. And I thought that to be a clever tactic on his lawyer's part. And maybe he really needed it. Who knows? But I don't think that really matters. I read an article by the New York Times where it talked about stuff like that with the walker. that it creates impressions and reinforces prejudices to onlookers, including the jurors and the judge, to maybe get their sympathy or something. Because seeing someone weak and vulnerable and struggling like that can kind of psychologically mess with their head and decision making, and perhaps make them unknowingly more sympathetic towards them. Or, it could do the complete opposite, and it could make it worse, and a juror could see that and be like, oh my gosh, like this is a load of baloney, and then be way less sympathetic than they would have otherwise been. And we've seen this before, and with guess who? Bill Cosby. That's right. Cosby also came into court showing visible health issues. He hobbled in with a cane, held his aide's arm like there was absolutely no way he could walk in there on his own, and he needed so much help. And yes, Cosby is very old. He has severe vision issues, and he can't see very well anymore. But it's just very similar, and it's almost seemed like Weinstein's defense was trying to mimic Cosby's, not just from the weak old ill man thing, but there were so many similarities between the two of their trials, which that's just creepy and weird. So then I got to thinking, who else has played the weak and vulnerable card during a trial? And again, I'm not saying these people were necessarily faking it. I'm just pointing out that it's a pretty convenient play. I did some research, and Paul Manafort, who was Trump's former campaign chairman, who was charged, with money laundering and bank fraud and a couple more things, he came to court in a wheelchair. His lawyers wouldn't quite explicitly say what it was that was causing him to be in a wheelchair, but I guess people close to the situation say it was a result of his confinement in jail, and that he started having diet issues and inflammation in his foot or something. I don't know. And another person I found was Robert Gregory Bowers, and that's the guy from the Pittsburgh Synagogue Massacre. That's horrible. It's awful. It's the deadliest attack on Jews in U.S. history. Bowers was injured. He was in the gun battle during the massacre with police. It was like a shootout. And then, he was released from the hospital and then later wheeled into the courtroom. So yes, he was wounded. But you have to kind of wonder if anyone on the jury maybe saw him and felt maybe just a little teeny ounce of sympathy for him for, having survived that and then now being there in a wheelchair. You never know what is going through people's heads. And last but not least, the infamous Golden State Killer, Joseph James D'Angelo. He kind of freaks me out because he's from where I'm from. He's way before my time, but still, it's just kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. He was described by neighbors and people who knew him as really boisterous and loud and fit, like almost obnoxious, and he's totally fine walking around. Like they used the word fit, F-I-T, to describe him. But when he came into court for his trial, all of a sudden he could barely talk. He was acting all frail and old, and he is old, yes, okay, but people described him as completely opposite. They described him as loud, and he barely managed to get out words. When he would talk, it would just be like yes or no, and he could barely speak above a whisper. Everything was super faint and frail sounding. People could barely even understand him because he was speaking so softly. So who knows? He was doing that on purpose. If somebody told him to do that, to maybe try to, play the old decrepit man card, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy to think about. But okay, now back to Weinstein. So he's in jail, right now, like he's in jail, but he doesn't use his walker in jail, like he did during the trial. But also, I don't know how that would work. Like if somebody needs a cane or help walking in jail, can't that be considered a weapon? Like if somebody had a cane and they could hit someone with it, right? How does that work? I'll have to look into that later. But Weinstein, he recently took a fall in jail at Rikers Island jail, and it may have left him with a concussion or dizziness or something. I'm not really sure. He hasn't been officially diagnosed, and if he is, I mean, no one really cares. They're not going to release that to the public. But he has been having some health issues. I mean, he's getting old. He's 67. I think he had some sort of heart problem, and I don't know if he had heart surgery, but they did something to his heart recently. Okay, but up next, this royal, or former royal, I should say, was prank phone called by some Russians. It's a pretty weird story, so stay tuned to hear about who they were claiming to be.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith.
An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hi there, we are back with the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. I was just talking about Harvey Weinstein and his trial and prison sentencing. I also talked about his walker that he used during the trial and mentioned a few other notorious names who appeared weak or vulnerable in court, including Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign chairman, Robert Bowers from the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting, and the Golden State Killer. I wonder how they're all holding up in prison. Not really, I don't actually care. Okay, so it's been reported that Prince Harry got pranked into spilling details about his life, how he feels about stepping away from the royal family, how he feels about some stuff Trump has done, some pretty personal viewpoints and details. He thought he was talking to Greta Thunberg and her dad, when in reality, he was talking to a couple of Russian pranksters. That is so funny. But it's also a little bit unnerving at the same time. And it actually raised quite a few alarms of, just with the security of Sussex and all that. And kind of, they're looking into it. The pranksters are known to do stuff like that, though. And they go by Vovon and Lexus. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm just trying. And have Vovon and Lexus, they've also apparently tricked Elton John and Bernie Sanders and Jerry Brown. But in the conversation with Harry, I guess they asked him if he had any regrets leaving the royal family. And I mean, again, Harry thought he was talking to sweet little Greta, so he's just spilling his heart out. So after asking if he has any regrets leaving the royal family, Prince Harry said, quote, "Oh, no, I think it's much better. You forget I was in the military for 10 years, so I'm more normal than my family would like to believe." End quote. And, while it was very difficult for Harry and Meghan to leave the royal family, I mean, it's not like that was just some easy decision. Of course, that was painstaking for them. It's hard. But, they're happier now to kind of have their own freedom. Especially because they were lacking so much support from the British family. And they felt it was the best decision for them to step away no matter how hard it was. But that's the key word, for them. That's all that matters. It's for them. Like, it's their own family, their own people. They can make their own decisions. And the media has coined the term Megxit. Like, it's a combination between, like, Meghan and exit, and maybe, I guess, Brexit, as slang for the couple's decision to leave the royal family. So if you hear me say Megxit, then that's what I'm referring to. So I guess the whole Harry being more normal than his family thinks is true. I've never thought about that before, and how he spent 10 years in the military, around what we call common folk. So he's got a pretty good idea of what it means to be just a normal citizen. Well, at least compared to other people in his family. And hey, I feel for them. It must be extremely stressful always being in the public eye, but not just the public eye. They're also in the eye of the Queen of England. And, that's crazy. What if a girl just wants to stroll on down to Starbucks in leggings and a baggy t-shirt? Well, nope, not allowed. You are not allowed to do that if you're a part of the royals. Poor Meghan. So the exit has been in the works for quite some time, but it looks like, it's finally happening. It's starting to go down. Meghan, right now, she's back in Canada with their son Archie, and Harry is finishing up, some final royal stuff, I guess, in the UK to finalize everything. They want a more private life for their new family, and I totally understand and respect that. And they'll be cut off from the royal family financially as well. But that doesn't really matter, because Harry and Meghan together, without the royals, are worth something around $30 million. So I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be okay. And, like I said, I'm happy for them. It's their life together. They only get one. And it's great that they're doing what will ultimately make them the most comfortable. We've seen plenty of resentment toward Meghan from the royal family, and I think that's terrible. Let them live their lives. The family should be supportive and happy for them. They're family. It's not like they're committing some sort of crime. They're just building a different life for their son, because it's their decision. They're the parents. And I keep seeing in social media, Kate Middleton is so upset over their leaving, and it's very awkward when she's around now, and everybody's polite, but it's still extremely awkward, and that is so weird to me. And every article that I've read is like, yeah, Kate's upset because she used to have such a wonderful trio with her husband, and Prince Harry. They had such a good time, the three of them. What? That is what? What were they doing? Huh? Like that? I think that's pretty weird. Oh, poor Kate. Her and her trio is no longer going to be a thing. Who cares? Harry is with his love now. Like, let them be happy. I mean, Kate, you got your husband. You got your balding, receding hairline husband. You chose that, so stick to it, girl. Oh my gosh, I'm really mean. Anyways, so besides all of that, the internet has just been having an absolute heyday with this whole exit thing. It's memes galore everywhere. I mean, I'm sure if you were to, go and type in Megxit in Twitter or Instagram, a bunch of memes would pop up, but I will try to describe some for you right now. So Twitter user @alliance_ZW tweeted, Meghan Markle got Prince Harry to stop being a prince, and you can't even get your man to stop liking other girls' pictures. Oh, that's good. And another Twitter user posted like a photoshopped picture of Harry's face on this stock McDonald's worker, like handing out food in the drive-thru, and they captioned it, "First day of work." And so funny because, they're finally breaking off and they're starting their new life and they're starting from the ground up. So they made him as, starting out like everybody else, like a McDonald's worker. But, it's just funny because they're failing to realize he's still a millionaire. And some people have even compared Meghan Markle to Drake and Josh, that Nickelodeon show. The character, the little sister, Meghan. She was, always scheming, always had something up her sleeve. She was always getting the boys into trouble. So I saw another meme that was like the royals trying to figure out why Prince Harry would leave. And then it's just a picture of Josh doing that, that little mean mug stare when he is thinking about Meghan, and he just goes, Meghan. And that's hilarious because the royals are totally blaming Meghan, which, I don't know, maybe it is her, but he's also a big boy. He can make his own decisions. So yeah, if you want a good laugh, then go check out all the memes about this Megxit thing. And then stick around. I've got a pretty crazy story coming up about a popular rapper who's in the spotlight right now for getting into a physical altercation with a fan. And the fan actually happened to be female. So this guy smacked a female fan. And then we'll kind of just talk about more celebrities who have gotten themselves into similar situations. So find out who this rapper is after this short break. Stay tuned.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Okay, so welcome back. You just heard all about Prince Harry and how him and his girl Meghan are starting their new life away from the royal family. You also heard how poor Harry fell victim, bless his heart, to a couple of Russian pranksters who pretended to be Greta Thunberg in a phone call. I still can't get over that. I don't know why I think it's so funny. Okay, but now we're gonna talk about rapper DaBaby. So DaBaby was caught on camera by a bunch of people, a bunch of fans, smacking the heck out of a female fan while he was exiting an after-party show. So this girl, she's seen kind of bopping him in the eye with her phone camera, and the flash was on and it was rolling and she was just trying to get close to his face. I don't know, but he did not like that. And he turned around and really, really smacked her hard. And he took to Twitter offering, because, okay, everybody was mad at him. Obviously, he got booed out of the building. They were like, what the heck? Like, you hit a fan and she was a girl. Like, what's your problem? So he's claiming that the fan hit him in the eye with the phone. So he took to Twitter offering a $10,000 reward for whoever had a better camera angle of the girl hitting him in the eye with her phone. And I've seen the video, and if you ask me, oh my gosh, yes, it was extremely uncalled for and very, very, very annoying that the fan thought it would be okay to put her phone all up in his face like that with a flash on and everything. Definitely, she should have been reprimanded, but by his security or something. That's what they're there for. I do not think that she needed to be met with violence. I mean, he smacked the heck out of her. And she didn't even hit him in the eye with her phone. Like, it was more of like a bop. Like, she got close and it like bopped him in the eye. And there's no way that it actually hurt him. Shocked him? Yeah. Took him by surprise? Totally. But it definitely didn't injure him. But the smack that he gave her was a lot more. It definitely had to have hurt, and it looked brutal. So then he was taking a lot of slack, of course. And, you know, I mentioned he was booed out of the building. It was just not a good look. So then he decided to change his stance and apologized, which is good. He said he was sorry and that, you know, he would have reacted like that no matter what, and that it was unfortunate that it was a female on the other end, blah, blah, blah. He then invited said woman to meet him in person so he could rectify it and apologize to her face to face, which is nice, I guess. But, you know, I think he's got to work on his reactions better if he's in the public eye like that. Fans are crazy. I mean, it's just a part of the lifestyle. But also, I mean, fans need to kind of back off. You need to realize that these people are people too. Nobody wants a phone shoved in their face with the flashlight on. Like, heck, I'd smack somebody too. Well, if I were to smack somebody, I definitely wouldn't hurt. But also this one time, I was at a music festival in Sydney, Australia, and the rapper Blueface was performing. And, you know, he was getting the crowd all hyphy, getting everybody excited, and having a good time up there. And then he decided he was going to jump into the crowd and try and crowd surf. And then when he jumped in, I guess somebody tried to grab at his diamond, his chain, and he threw a fit. He got so mad. And I wasn't right there. I wasn't like where I could touch him, but I was close enough that I could hear him yelling. Because at this point he didn't have the microphone, but I could hear him yelling, swearing at everybody, saying, let me go, let me go. I can't actually say what he said because I'm live, but it's just, I can't even express to you how angry he got. So he gets back on stage and he gets the microphone and he is just screaming and he's like, who was it? Who was it? Like, come see me after. Come see me after. Why are you grabbing at my stuff like that? Like, I'm scared I'm going to slip, so I'm just not even going to continue. But I thought that he kind of acted a little out of hand because, I mean, I didn't see it, so I don't know. Maybe this person did actually go to grab at his chain, but also he was crowd surfing. I mean, hands get in the way. It's crazier at a concert. Like, maybe someone was just trying to touch him, or his arm was falling or something, and the person did it on accident. You know, who knows? But again, I didn't see it, so I don't know. But I just feel like maybe if you're going to jump into a crowd with expensive jewelry on, take it off first. I mean, maybe that taught him a lesson. I don't know. So to keep this going, let's keep talking about celebrities versus fans. This one time, long time ago in like 2009, Pitbull brought a fan on stage and then punched him in the jaw at one of his concerts. Apparently the fan was throwing money up at Pitbull while he was in the crowd, and Pitbull took offense to that. And he pulled the guy up on stage aggressively by his arm, and the guy just kept continuing to throw money in Pitbull's face. So then Pitbull uppercut him right in the jaw. And then the guy just took it, I guess, and jumped down off the stage and tried to get back in the crowd. And then Pitbull was so mad, he even tried to go after the guy. But then security came and intervened and whatever. Okay, now let's see. Okay, oh yeah, Shia LaBeouf. He definitely has had a lot of media attention over the years, and he's had quite a few altercations, mostly actually with random bar patrons, but also some fans and even a protester one time. In a bar in London in 2013, he got into some argument with some girl, and then her boyfriend tried to intervene. Things got out of hand, and then Shia literally threatened to get the guy killed. That's crazy. And then a month later, still in London, he got kicked out of a different bar for headbutting some dude who insulted his mom. But I guess that's fair. Who knows? And he also got into an argument. One time he was holding a Trump protest at like an inauguration rally or something like that. And he was super, super involved, super, angry. And I mean, you know how things get at those things. They're just out of hand when the protesters meet the other protesters. So that's what happened between a protester and Shia LaBeouf. And they got in each other's faces. They were yelling. And then Shia took it a step too far when he turned violent and he whacked the guy in the chest. And the guy pressed charges, but then later on the charges got dropped, which is good because, stuff like that is usually just heat of the moment. And then we can't forget good old Justin Bieber getting taken down by some guy after an NBA game in Cleveland, Ohio. And it started over some pictures. Justin really does not like his picture taken or being bothered, I guess. And these two girls and a guy asked him for a picture, and he said, "No autographs tonight, mother." And he said it to this guy, and the guy smacked Justin upside the head, naturally. And Justin reacted with an uppercut, but you can't tell if it landed on the other guy from the video. But this guy was huge. Like, he was so much bigger than Justin. So then after Justin threw the punch, the guy just tackled Justin to the ground, which makes sense considering Justin is like extremely, pretty much half his size. And, Justin needs to be a bit nicer. I've heard from a lot of people that he's a huge jerk, which that kind of sucks. All right, but looks like we are running out of time here. We covered a lot of stuff from the coronavirus to Weinstein's sentencing to Megxit to celebrities versus fans. A lot of good stuff. So if you're in LA, try to stay dry out there. It has been constantly raining. And definitely, please do me a favor and keep your hands washed extra good. We got to work together in times like this. Think about our cute little grandparents. But anyways, thank you for listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Once again, I'm your host, Kayla Moeller. And if you could do me a favor and subscribe to the show and write a nice review, that really helps us out. And don't forget to give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks, guys, so much. Have a wonderful night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.